Let's dive into a pretty radical idea today. What if the most powerful tools for your health aren't in some brand new supplement or a high-tech lab, but in ancient texts? We're talking about rediscovering the original biohacks, the stuff that's been working for thousands of years. And honestly, the answers might totally surprise you. Okay, let's just start with a question that I think a lot of us are asking. You're trying to do everything right, aren't you? You're buying the superfoods, the keto this, the organic that, spending a fortune on supplements. But why are so many of us still so tired? I mean, if your body feels like this incredible machine that's just running on cheap gas, you are definitely not alone in that feeling. And this really gets to the core of the problem, you know? The modern wellness industry, for all its good intentions, has kind of sold us this idea that being healthy is a new invention, that it's something you can only get from a shiny new powder or a pill designed in a lab. But what if that whole premise is just wrong? What if we've been looking in all the wrong places for answers? So that brings us to this completely different way of thinking. What if the solution we're all looking for isn't some new age innovation at all? What if it's more like an instruction manual that's been hiding in plain sight for centuries? A guide that wasn't tested for profit, but for one thing and one thing only: survival. So, if the answer isn't another pill from the health food store, what on earth is it? Well, the source material we're digging into today points to something that might sound a little shocking at first, but when you really stop and think about it, it makes so much biological sense. That's right, it's the Bible. But we're not looking at it as a purely religious text. Instead, think of it as a historical record, a kind of survival guide that shows what kept people not just alive, but thriving in some of the harshest conditions imaginable. It's like the result of a massive millennial-long clinical trial where the only thing that mattered was what actually worked. And this leads us to this incredible idea of ancient biohacks. See, these aren't just foods with a list of vitamins and minerals. Think of them as carriers of information. They literally communicate with ourselves in a primal language that our DNA is hardwired to understand, a language that most modern processed foods have completely forgotten how to speak. So, let's get into the good stuff. We're going to look at some of the most powerful foods mentioned in these ancient texts. I'm talking about the true heavy hitters, the cornerstones of health for entire civilizations. First up, the absolute king, olive oil. To the ancient world, this was liquid gold. It was fuel, it was medicine, it was currency. But I'm not talking about that pale stuff in a clear plastic bottle. No, we're talking about real, potent, cold-pressed olive oil that's bursting with life. So what is the secret sauce in real olive oil? Well, it's a powerful polyphenol called oleocanthal. And here's the mind-blowing part. Scientists have found that it works on the exact same biochemical pathways as ibuprofen. It literally tells the inflammation signals in your body to quiet down. It's not just a cooking fat, it's a functional medicine. And here's the coolest part. You can actually feel it working. Have you ever tasted really, really good olive oil and you get that peppery kick, that little burn in the back of your throat? That's not a defect. That's the oleocanthal. That sensation is literally the feeling of your body's anti-inflammatory defenses getting switched on. All right, let's move on to our next biohack, raw honey. And I have to say that word again, raw. The clear, runny stuff in the plastic bear, that's basically just sugar syrup after it's been processed. Real, raw honey is a living, breathing substance absolutely packed with active enzymes. So, why is raw honey so potent? I mean, get this. Archaeologists have found pots of honey in 3,000-year-old Egyptian tombs that are still perfectly edible. The secret is a special protein called defensin-1. It basically creates a biological fortress, an environment where bad bacteria simply cannot survive. In fact, modern research shows it can even work against antibiotic-resistant superbugs like MRSA. Okay, on to our third powerhouse, garlic. We think of it as just a flavoring, but for thousands of years, this was one of the most powerful tools in nature's entire pharmacy. It's like a personal bodyguard for your cells. And just think about how important this stuff was. This anecdote is incredible. People literally cried because they craved it so badly. Now, why would they have such an intense craving? Because their bodies knew, on a deep, primal level, just how protective and vital it was for their survival. So here's where the magic happens. When you crush or chop garlic, you set off a chemical reaction that creates a powerful compound called allicin. And allicin doesn't just fight germs on its own. It acts like a drill sergeant for your immune system, training your white blood cells to be faster, stronger, and way more aggressive at taking out any invaders. Now, this next part is a huge piece of the puzzle, and it's something we almost always get wrong today. We focus so much on what we eat, but we've totally forgotten about the ancient wisdom of how we eat. It turns out the way they ate was a built-in biological protocol designed to prepare the body to actually receive the food and unlock its full power. And wow, the difference between then and now is just stark. Today we eat in fight or flight mode. We're stressed, we're rushed, we're scrolling on our phones while we eat. That state literally shuts down proper digestion. The ancient approach was all about rest and digest, eating together, in community, with gratitude. That simple shift in your environment completely changes your biology, and it primes your body to absorb every last nutrient. And it was all about synergy. See, they weren't taking these things like isolated supplements. They were combining them in meals, what modern biohackers would call stacking. Think about dipping bread with bitter herbs into olive oil. The fat in the oil helps you absorb the nutrients from the herbs, and the herbs stimulate enzymes to help you break down the fat. It's a biological symphony where every single instrument makes the others sound so much better. So, what does this all mean for us? What do we do with this knowledge? It's really about taking this ancient wisdom and finally applying it to our modern lives. It's time to stop trying to outsmart our own biology and just start working with it. And this right here, this is probably the most important takeaway. Your body, your cells, they're still running on an ancient operating system. They haven't changed that much in thousands of years. They are just waiting for the right information, the right code that they were programmed to recognize. And these ancient foods, that's the code. So, how do you actually put this into practice? Here's a super simple but powerful challenge. You don't need to change your whole life overnight. Just pick 3 things. Swap that vegetable oil for real, peppery olive oil. Ditch the sugar for some raw honey. Start adding fresh garlic to your meals. Give your body the original code for 30 days. And then just listen, see how you feel. So that's the question I really want to leave you with. After hearing about the power of these original biohacks, which one calls to you? Which one feels like the right first step? Maybe reclaiming your health isn't about some complicated new plan. Maybe it's as simple as reclaiming your grocery list. Thanks for digging into this with me.